المرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. I don't know if you were paying attention or not, but in this series of going over the short surahs of the Holy Quran, not one person asked me, why did you skip Surah Qadr? So why did I skip Surah Qadr? Because I wanted to finish this series with Surah Qadr at the end, because of its relevance to the Imam of the age, to Imam Mahdi, Ajallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. And I usually like to end my series with talking about Imam Zaman. And especially during this time, this age, specifically what is going on around the world, we need to talk about Imam Mahdi. We need to talk about how we can get help from him and how he protects us and what are our duties. When you look at this surah, Surah Qadr, it is one of those surahs that has lots of reward reciting it. Maybe you have gone to the graveyard and visited some of your dear ones, loved ones. And one of the good surahs to recite for the grave is Surah Qadr. 7 times recite this, Allah forgives them and forgives you in tradition. Or when you look at some of the other traditions about its virtue, it says if a person recites it, will be given reward like one who has fasted Shahr Ramadan and done ihya of Laylatul Qadr. So Allah is looking for excuses for us in order to forgive us, to give us reward. And one of the great things about this surah is that it mentions that this night, the night of destiny or power, or Qadr means measure, where different, as we mentioned, the nights of Qadr, is that an individual's affairs are determined. Individuals, what will happen to them who have a child, who will not have a child, for example, who will be married. All these things are determined, these umur are determined in Laylatul Qadr. The other particularity about this surah is it says, for when we start, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Inna anzalnahu. This whole is the Holy Quran. We descended the Holy Quran in Laylatul Qadr. So indeed, we sent the Quran during the entire night of decree or night of destiny. Question, was the Quran, was it revealed in one night? Or was the Quran revealed over the span of around 23 years of the Prophet's life? Which one of these is it? Because don't we always say in tafsir, says this battle happened and then this surah came, this happened and this ayah came, right? Don't we talk about asbab and nuzul or sha'n and nuzul, meaning the circumstances why a surah or ayah was revealed? So yes, we agree with that. Then how can you match that the Quran was revealed, and we say a Meccan verse and a Medina verse for a chapter? How can you mix this with Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr? We descended the Quran in its entirety in the night of destiny. The answer that some give is this, is that the Holy Quran was descended in Shahr Ramadan, first of all, because Quran itself says about Shahr Ramadan, alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. So we know the Quran was in Shahr Ramadan. This surah, we understand it, that Allah brought the Quran to the heart of Rasulullah. We have descended the Quran to the heart of Rasulullah, but then when does this verse come to people, into this world that we have? Then there's another movement from the heart of Rasulullah to us. And according to those, the time for tabyin of this verse. So we can put these two things together, that the Quran in its entirety was revealed, but then that tadriji, or that gradual revelation, happens later on. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ. Laylatul Qadr is something that you will not know. It's mysterious for us. What is it? What night is it, for example? Or what is the worth of it? How great is it? Many things we have in this world we cannot truly comprehend. Whenever we speak about prophets, whenever we speak about Imam Ali alayhi salam, we first say, I cannot truly understand Imam Ali alayhi salam. Because it takes someone at the level of Imam Ali to understand someone else. For you to be a mu'arrif or to explain something, you have to be able to have full knowledge of that thing. We do not have full knowledge. But yet we understand that the Imams do, that Allah does. But for us, we do not. Laylatul Qadri khayrun min alfi shahr. The night of destiny is better than 1,000 months. 1,000 months is equal to 80 years. 80 years is equal to a lifetime. Usually someone has taklif around 10, 15, right? So 80 years of worship, right? If they become 90, 95, even at that age, we understand that it is one lifetime, one lifespan is Laylatul Qadr. What night is it? 19th, 21st, 23. But usually the scholars say between 21st and 23rd. And usually some of the traditions say, I cannot, they came to Imam, I cannot, do ihya of the entire, for example, all the nights. Then the Imam in tradition says, then do 23rd. Then do the 23rd. So most probably it's the 23rd. Some have an opinion that 19, 21st, 23 are related to one another. The 19, 21st, and 23 builds the 23rd, for example. But regardless, we do not know. What is the mystery? Why do we not know? Maybe that we can worship more. Maybe that we can understand. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ. You cannot even understand it. Because what's happening in reality is a different night. You cannot comprehend these things. The huruf al-muqatta in the Quran too, alif, lam, mim, for example. There are things in the Quran that you just cannot understand. Now some say, for example, some of them, there's tradition, what it stands for. But those huruf in the Quran that some of the verses start with, it is so that mankind, you cannot understand. If you want deep knowledge of Quran, you have to ask Rasulullah. You have to ask Imam Ali alayhi salam. They know when Laylatul Qadr is. Some of the traditions we're reading with our friends. I was in Qom in Shahr Ramadan, and we're just having an iftar together, and my friend just picked up Wasail al-Shia, and he opened it up. It was about, how do you know if it's Laylatul Qadr? The hadith. One of it is interesting. The narration says it becomes cool that night. There's a sense of chill or cool. It becomes barid that night. Now, does this mean the temperature suddenly drops? Not necessarily that the temperature has to drop. Did you ever feel cool, for example? When you're fasting sometimes, you're very hungry and you don't have nutrition. It might even be warm, but you feel cool, right? So it says at that night, you can feel cool. But is this for everyone? No, not everyone might have this feeling. That person who has worked on themselves and has, connection, they might feel that coolness of Laylatul Qadr. This is one of the ways to figure out if you did feel cooler in one of these nights, let us know, so maybe we can figure out what night Laylatul Qadr is. And put your name from the awliya of Allah, inshallah, of the masjid. Now this part is very important because this is where Arabic grammar comes to play. In Arabic grammar, we have different times. A verb, a fi'l, is known as a kalima, a word, that has a time period. In Arabic, one of the definitions of a verb, a fi'l, it means it is attached to zaman. But a noun or al-ism in Arabic is one that is not maqroon or attached to zaman. When I say ash-shajara, tree in Arabic, where's the time period? There's no time period in, right? Tree. When I say book, there's no time period. But if I use Arabic and I say, for example, qara'a, he read, it was past tense. Or say yaqra'u, for example, he is reading, it has time because it's the fi'l. It is now or in the future. So they divide into Mahdi and Mudari. Mazi or Mudari. Just reviewing your books that many of you started reading, and I don't know what grade do they start reading Arabic in the curriculum? 6th grade? 6th grade. So Mahdi, and one of the verbs that they usually like to use is zaraba. Daraba, they like to hit, for example. But also, daraba has different meanings. Daraba also means to go on vacation, for example. Daraba also means to give example. Now, one of the verses, I don't want to cause something controversial here, but it's a night of Eid. There's this one alim who went to Germany, and a person comes and speaks about this verse about yadrib, about hitting, for example, of wife in the Quran. And this scholar was wondering how to answer this. It's Germany. How can I answer this? And we have our own answers. I'm not going to answer now that there's a philosophy, what is allowed, what you can do, and it's very technical. But regardless, he says here, he thought to himself, well, how can I answer this? Germany is Europe. Yadrib means to hit. How can I answer it? He says, okay, look, Quran is talking about stages. When wife is not, for example, you have a fight. First, you don't talk to them. Second, for example, or when you don't talk. Second, you change your beds, for example. You go to somewhere else. Then when things become very difficult, things become hard, then you go on vacation. Because yadribu also means to go on vacation, to go traveling. When thing reaches the end, you go on vacation. But anyway, so daraba can have different meanings. So but anyway, darabu is fi'l madi. It has time past tense. Now you answer me. Tanazzalu. It is what? It is mudari. Right? It's not nazala or tanazzala, for example. It's tanazzalu, meaning to descend. To descend. Angels descend. It doesn't say angels descended during the night of Qadr. It says descend. So what does that mean when they descend? It means that it happens every year. It means that every Laylatul Qadr, tanazzalul malaika. Every night the angels come in Laylatul Qadr. Warruh, and first people ask, what is al-malaika and ruh? The angels and ar-ruh. Some say ar-ruh is Jibreel. Some say ruh is maybe a great, for example, one of the angels. But the proper is ar-ruh is a being that's outside of angels because it says al-malaika war-ruh. Possibly. This is one explanation. Or it can be of the angels because it's important to say al-malaika war-ruh. All the people came, and for example, the masjid leader came as well. Or for example, Zayd came, was very important. So sometimes you can say that if there's emphasis on one person. But regardless, ar-ruh is a being that has highly valued here because either excluded from al-malaika or he's from a different, category than the angels. So and alif lam in jam in Arabic usually signifies all, right? It signifies kulli, like all the angels. All the angels ar-ruh descend fiha bidni rabbihim min kulli amr, with every event, with everything. Some say here the amr is those things that the individuals, what will happen to them. What is their affair for the next year? Who will get married? Who will go to Hajj? Who will be alive? Who will be born, for example? All these important events the angels will bring. Question. Everyone accepted that during Rasulullah, this tanazzalul malaika war-ruh was during the Prophet's time. That the angels descended in Laylatul Qadr, just how Quran we say, Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr. We brought for the Prophet, the Quran and descended for him. Also here, the angels and our ruh descended for the Prophet. There's no doubt about that. Muslims believe during the time of Rasulullah, all angels and night of Qadr descended. Now because it is mudari, now because it is the future tense or present tense, therefore we have to understand then after Rasulullah passes away, whose surah is it? Whose surah does it become? In the tradition that teaches us, actually the tradition says, debate for our right, debate with this. This is one of the proofs of Ahlul Bayt, that we must be, Hujjatullah, we must be the authorities of Allah. Why? Because after Rasulullah passes away, but Quran is saying these angels need to descend every year, then where do they go after Rasulullah has passed away? Who do they go to? Insan and naqis, for example, someone who is naqis, who's insufficient, or insan kamil, or complete human being. Because the angels, they would go into insan kamil, they want to go to me, for example, they want to go to the likes of people in the other masjid, for example, they would go to insan kamil, a complete human being. Right? So therefore, Rasulullah says, Ali tells Amir al-Mu'mineen, this is my surah, after me, this will be your surah. After this, the tradition says, after you, it will be Hassan, Al-Hassan surah. It will be Al-Hussein surah. Now this is the surah of the Imam of the age. And that is why I wanted to save this discussion to talk about the Imam al-Zaman, especially when we talk about Laylatul Qadr. And I'll finish this and we'll talk about Salamun hiya hatta matla al-fajr. Peace, it is until the emergence of dawn. Peace meaning, for example, here we can say peace, salam, which is, Quran was revealed, for example, or we can say here peace can have different meanings, mercy, blessings, divine decrees until Fajr. Please recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, so we understand that Shahr Ramadan is the best month, has passed us. And we understand that Shahr Ramadan has a heart. The heart of it is Laylatul Qadr, right? Best time. And from this explanation, we know that Laylatul Qadr is the night of that angel's descent. And the whole center of Shahr Ramadan and Laylatul Qadr, the whole point, and all the angels turn to is Imam of the age, Imam Mahdi. We as followers of Imam Mahdi are blessed to believe in Mahdawiyat, to believe in Mahdism. Shiism has two cornerstones, two pillars. One is the love of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and the belief in the martyrdom and sacrifice of Imam Hussein, which today make us of the strongest of individuals. Today, when you look at current events, and you ask, why are the Shia so resilient? Why did the Shia fight against oppression? Why they'll fight to their martyrdom, to the death, and they're not afraid? This is from the university of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So our leaders themselves would say, examples of me will not do bay'ah allegiance like you, Yazid. This is what we have been taught, that we will not do bay'at and allegiance to the oppressor. The other aspect of Shiism, which is very important, is the belief of Imam Mahdi. What does this cause for us? Hope. Hope. That at the end, the world will be inherited by the righteous. At the end, there will be peace on earth. At the end, there will be justice, and justice will be served on earth. At the end, there will be worship of God. There will be knowledge. At the end, the world will be a beautiful place. Heaven will be on earth eventually. So no matter what corruption you see, no matter how sad you become during these times, and many of us today and during these times are very saddened about what happened to our people, what happened to the followers of Amir Mu'mineen, where our family members are, what our loved ones are, what's happening to them right now. We know that eventually Imam Mahdi will rule the world. When you look at a very interesting story from Imam Baqir in the work of Al-Kafi, Marhum Kulayni, one of our best hadith books. Marhum Kulayni was one who spent about 20 years of his life gathering one of the best traditions that we have. There they asked Imam Baqir alayhi salam about Mata yakunu hadha al-amr. When will this event happen? When will the faraj happen? And in the book of Al-Kafi, the Imam explains when the appearance of Imam Mahdi will happen by a story. He says, and I'll just paraphrase, he says, once there was a scholar who had knowledge. And this scholar who had knowledge of different things, say interpretation of dreams and different things, eventually he was going to pass away. And he had a son that he really wanted to give and share his knowledge to his son. But his son was lazy. His son didn't want to learn. So therefore, father never gave knowledge to his son. Instead, gave it to neighbor. And neighbor wanted to learn. And neighbor took the knowledge of this scholar. The guy died. Finally, the scholar died. And he told his son, listen, this knowledge that you never sought, I have given it to this person. Go and get it from him if you ever need it. He's a father. Still give him a chance. So one day the king comes, and this is again the story in Al-Kafi, and I can show you the Arabic of it. You can look at it. One day the king comes and says, where is this scholar in this village, in this land? Where is the scholar? And at that time, they say, well, he passed away, he died. In this very urgent manner, he said, does he have a son? Because you see, many times the attributes of father go to son. Our teacher used to say, for example, waladul alim nisful alim. The son of an alim is half an alim. He said, waladul baqal nisful baqal, for example. Someone has a supermarket, their son, well, half of that knowledge you'll know. Or waladul tabib nisful tabib, for example. This is something we said from before. Son of a doctor, a physician, will be half a physician, because they grow up hearing it and learning about it. So he says, does he have a son? He says, yes, he does. So they go to the son, and he tells son, and this is the king, he says, I have a dream, I want you to interpret it for me. And son knows if he gives the right answer, he's going to get rich. This is the king. I mean, kings, they have a lot of money at their hands, a lot of gold coins. So he goes back to neighbor, he goes, say, listen, the king is summoning me. You need to help me out. I never listened from my father. I didn't seek the knowledge. Can you help me out here? He says, okay, I'll help you out. The answer, he's going to ask you about a dream he had. And the answer is adhib. Adhib means wolf. Wolf. So he goes, he gets summoned, he goes, calls, and then the dream says, the king says, I have a dream. And he says, adhib, wolf. And it fits with the dream. It's ajab, good, mashallah, good. Gives him all this money. But before he gave him this answer, he told son, he says, whatever money king is going to give you, like 50-50, give me half of it, give me some money too. But son comes, he's like, no way. It seems like this is a bad kid. He says, no way I'm going to give that guy money. I mean, if he was good, he would have learned from his father. So he says, I'm going to rip him off too. I'm not going to give him his money. What's the chance that he's going to ask me another time? Right? What's the chance? Let me enjoy the money that I have. So he doesn't give the guy his share. The king then comes later on. Again, this story from Imam Mahdi, paraphrasing. And the king has another question. So son wants more money. He goes again to the neighbor. He says, help me out again. He says, do you promise to give me half of the money, for example? And he says, yes. He says, the answer is al-kabsh, ram. Ram, it's like goat, ram. So goes to the king and tells him very, confidently, ram, for example, kabsh, gets all this money again. Now this time he says, okay, now I should pay the neighbor. He gave me the answer twice. Maybe I should give him some money. That's the right thing to do, right? And he's thinking for himself. And then he says, no, I'm not going to give him his money. I'm not going to give him his money. This is the tradition. I'll show it to you. Then the third time the king comes and asks him. And during the third time, he says the answer is al-mizan. Al-mizan. What does al-mizan mean? Not the book, obviously. The scale. The scale. So he tells the king, scale, and the king is impressed again. Wow, this guy is good. Gives him money, and now he says, you know what, I'm going to do what's right to give him half his share. When he comes back to give half his share, he says that, in reality, these three answers were you. Because first, you were adhib. First, you were the wolf. You didn't even think about me. For example, you devoured my right. You didn't even think about what you owed me, so you devoured and took it all. That's how in the wolf attribute. Two, the second part, you were like a ram, a sheep. You knew what is right, but you just couldn't do what is right. You knew what is right, you just couldn't do what is right. And the third, you became al-mizan, you became the scale, and you did justice. So remember, the Imam is saying these three things. The question was, when will the Imam come back? When will Imam Mahdi come back? Answering it with this story, one of the scholars says he understands it, and this makes sense this way, that there will be for Shiism three time periods. Three time periods for Shiism. One time period of the wolf, the first time period, where they took the right of Imam Ali and martyred Sayyidah Fatima, killed Imam Hussein alayhi salam, poisoned Imam Hassan alayhi salam. That was adhib, and they took all the rights. They even think about giving them anything. Later on, there will be a time period of al-kabsh, which is the ram, where people, individuals know what is right. They say, I have to help, but I just can't. I just cannot do it. I'm not willing to sacrifice, because you have to pay a price. Everyone, when you look at Palestine, for Gaza, this last few years, there is something you had to do. Everyone had to pay something, because you have to do something. It's not easy to go against and fight injustice, for example. And it's up to you. What did you give for Gaza? What do you give right now for what is going on in our lands? So it's up to each person. You decide yourself. But he said then there will be the time period of Al-Mizan, where people will promote justice, and they will pay any price for that justice, and they will give their lives for that justice. That is when you see the Imam of the age. People will be ready when they say, I want justice, I'm tired. Like some of the college students that you saw in the protests. Their degrees are in danger, their visas were in danger, for example, but they say, I cannot see the starvation and the genocide of Palestinians. And some of them were, kicked out and were, deported from this country. What I want to say is this about the Imam of the age, because I said this narration, this saying of Khaja Nasiruddin at-Tusi over and over, is that wujuduhu lutf. Allah blessed us to have an Imam who is from Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Sayyidah Fatima alive. وَتَصَرُّفُهُ لُطْفٌ آخر. And the ability of Imam al-Zaman, being the wali of the time, is something that is from God's grace. وَلَكِنْ وَغَيْبَتُهُ عَنَّا. But his occultation, in his delay, in his reappearance, is because of us. Because of us. When we remove ourselves from the wolf stage, when we go to the ram stage, then we leave that stage and we promote justice, as how we see today many brave individuals right now in the streets. For example, if you saw the iftar that is happening in Tehran, for example, they are bombing right now the capital, and there are individuals that are outside. And everyone says, go inside, it's safer, while being bombed. They're having iftar there. They're saying, I need to support our country, I need to support our people, for example. People are tired of injustice. When the world reaches this, and when we are object in life, obviously with wisdom, not doing irrational things, obviously, but with calculation and wisdom, but our hearts are the hearts, the tradition says, those who are the soldiers of the Imam of the age, their hearts are solid like zubur hadid, like steel, like iron, that if they want, they can move mountains. These are the companions of Imam Mahdi. When the world becomes like this, then know the Imam will come. But yet when we are wolves, when we are sheep, when we are rams, the Imam, it does not make sense for him to come, because it depends on our action and our strength. We pray to Allah, inshallah, to rectify us, make us of the strong, make us have hearts of steel, inshallah, make us be able to move mountains, allow us to promote justice through the lands. We ask Allah to give victory to the followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, to give protection to the Madhlumeen, the oppressed around the world, in Iran, Lebanon, and Gaza, and throughout the entire world. We ask Allah to forgive our sins and accept our a'mal in Shahr Ramadan, and to allow us to continue this path of piety, inshallah, until our death, inshallah. Ya Allah, our family members, bless them, bless their souls with the reward of our worship, inshallah. Cure all of those who are sick, be a refuge for all those seeking help, and expedite the reoccurrence of Imam al-Zaman with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajal farajah.